What's going on YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video. Now shout out to the DoD Disciples of Doom. And in today's Division 2 video, we are going to test the weapon talents Flatline versus Insync. And then for a little bonus feature, I'm going to test those up against Perfect Flatline just to show you the results. So sit back, relax, grab that popcorn. Don't forget to hit that like. Subscribe if you haven't already. We did hit 43,000 yesterday, and it's still climbing. So if you haven't yet, join the channel by subscribing and ring that notification bell because we are bringing you Division content every single day. And then lastly, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, how you would test this, what your results are, and we'll go from there. But okay. Now, for the Insync versus Flatline, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be testing the TKB 408. Now, the TKB 408 is the brand new assault rifle that was introduced in Title Update 15. Now, Flatline gives you 15% amplified damage to pulsed enemies, where Insync gives you up to 30% weapon damage increase if you hit an enemy with a weapon and skill at the same time. So we're going to be testing Insync versus Flatline on this exact same assault rifle. Nothing's going to change. I'm not going to change the build. I'm not going to change mods, nothing at all. I am only going to change that weapon talent and show you guys the numbers. Now, finally, what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to compare the TKB 408 versus the Kingbreaker. Now, these are the exact same weapon. I know that they look different, but that's just a placeholder for the Kingbreaker. It's supposed to look like a named version of the TKB 408. Now, in this test, I'm going to go ahead and do this disclaimer. I'm probably going to say it a few times in this video. This is the exact same setup. These weapons have the exact same mods, the exact same attributes, the exact same total damage. And the only difference is I'm going to change the TKB's talent from Flatline to Insync. I'm going to test those two against each other, and then I'm going to test it against the Kingbreaker. But you can see even the mods, they are the exact same mods. The only difference is, and I'm putting this out there for everyone to see, is that there is a 0.5 health damage increase on the Kingbreaker versus the TKB. So one is at 17, one's at 17.5. That is the only difference between these. So if the Kingbreaker is only hitting for a few thousand more, that might be why. But if the difference is like way out there, then the 0.5 is not really going to affect that. Same with the Perfect Glass Cannon versus Heartbreaker, the Heartbreaker chest piece. The Heartbreaker chest piece was hitting for like 500,000 more damage per bullet. It wasn't like, 5,000 or something like that where it's like, oh, we'll change this and maybe that'll help. No, the damage was such a difference that changing one item was not going to change that at all. So same thing here. We're going to test these two at the very end just to show you how good, Perfect Flatline versus Flatline is. And just note that the health damage is 0.5 off. But that's at the end of the show. Right now, we're just going to be testing the TKB 408 Flatline versus Insync. So let's go ahead and jump over to the firing range and get this thing done. Hit that like, subscribe, and let's go over there. All right, so here we are at the firing range, and we're going to do like a three-way test. So what I'm testing is I'm testing Insync versus Flatline, but I'm also testing those numbers up against Perfect Flatline at the same time, just to show how dominating the Kingbreaker is in this game. So here are my two test subjects. They are supposed to be the exact same weapon, at least visually, but they're not. The Kingbreaker is supposed to look like the TKB 408, but currently it looks like a AKM. Now, looking at these numbers, let me go ahead. There we go. So these are both damage to armor. They are both proficient, but not upgraded. They both have max AR damage. They both have the exact same mag size and total damage number. The only difference on these weapons is the Kingbreaker has 5% more health damage. Now, looking at the mods, we have the exact same mods as well. So, same weapon types. One is a named variant. Same numbers across the board, except for 0.5 health damage on that Kingbreaker. So the Kingbreaker has a 0.5% advantage against health targets. Now, Insync versus Flatline. So Perfect Flatline is 20% amplified to pulsed enemies. Normal Flatline is 15% amplified to pulse enemies. Now, Insync, if you can get that to proc both at the same time, you get 30% weapon damage. It's not amplified, it's just increase of weapon damage. So, we are testing these because Insync, as I was testing in the PTS, Insync was still really strong. But I'm going to test it here with the two ARs that are probably going to be the most used because they are the new toys that are out there. That and the Kingbreaker feels really fun. I've been using that in Conflict every day for, I don't know, a week now, and it's a lot of fun to use. Shout out to everyone that I see in Conflict, by the way. Anyways, so we're going to test these. First up is going to be Insync, and then I will test that against Perfect Flatline, and then I'm going to take the TKB and I'm going to switch Insync for normal Flatline, and then I'm going to test that against the Insync, and then we're going to see how Insync versus Flatline compare to each other, and then we're also going to see why Perfect Flatline is still going to be the #1 choice for weapons right now. I mean, you can't get away from this amplified damage to pulsed enemies. And as long as they keep all of these different ways to pulse your enemies, you're going to keep this amplified damage up. So let's go ahead and test out Insync versus Flatline, and then I'll show you that versus Perfect Flatline. All right. So here is Insync, and this is going to be the TKB 408 with Insync. We have Invulnerable Elite, 5 meters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these different skills to proc my Insync, and we will look at the numbers. So here's to the chest. Goes up to 922. So 922 with both active to the chest. So do that again to the head. 1.22. All right, so 1.22 and 922. 1.22 and 922. All right, so let's switch this to Flatline. Okie dokie, artichokeles. So I switched over the TKB 408 to now it is Flatline. So Flatline amplifies your weapon damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. So remember, we just had Insync on, and that is the true test. Insync versus Flatline. Now, the Insync was hitting 922 to the body and 1.22 million to the head. So let's test out the normal Flatline versus that Insync. So we saw that using Flatline, if you use this drone, you can pulse the enemies more consistently. And here we go. 125. Okay. So 125 is my highest. So that's what, about 30,000 more? Yeah, so we're just about 30,000 more to the head. Go to the chest. The original number was 922, and now we're at 945. So again, just over 20,000. Let me double check. Yeah. So about a 20,000 damage difference. That's a very, very close difference. Now, Flatline is the winner between Insync and Flatline. Now, the part that's even more disturbing is that you can use the link laser pointer on all of these weapons to then pulse your enemies as soon as you aim them. So knowing that this hits harder than Insync, and you can use a linked laser pointer and a scanner pulse and a tactician drone from the sharpshooter specialization, you have all of these different options, and you have Heartbreaker, in which if you get a headshot, you could pulse them. So there's all of these different ways now you can pulse your enemies. What is the remote pulse? Another one? I believe so, right? I mean, there's a few, like a handful of different ways you can pulse people, and it hits harder than Insync. Now, Insync, we all know, did not get touched this last update. The only thing that got changed was the use of that and a shield skill. So everyone else that was using Insync without a shield, they were still able to use it this patch with no problems. Same thing, same outcome. However, now that you can see that Flatline does hit harder, it hits a little bit harder. A little bit harder. 20,000 per bullet, that's not much, but it does hit harder. So between Insync and Flatline, Flatline is the winner. Now let's test Flatline versus Perfect Flatline, and then we'll test Insync versus Perfect Flatline. But we already know that Insync is the loser in this, but I still want to show you guys to, document it. All right, so here's going to be Flatline versus Perfect Flatline. So a reminder, the TKB 408. I'm hitting for, oh, come on, pulse. It's not pulsing him. Hold on. Boo-doo, boop-a-doo, boo-boo. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Is it still not pulsing him? 1.251. There we go. So 1.251 and 945. Switch over to the King Breaker. 994. So that's 50k more to the chest. And 1316. So that's about 50k more to the head. So with this test, Insync hits 20,000 less than Flatline, and Flatline hits about 50,000 less than Perfect Flatline. So in the way the tiers would go with weapon talents, I would put Perfect Flatline on the tippity top, and then tier 1 would be normal Flatline, and then I'd have Insync just under that for best weapon talents to use right now. You just cannot pass up this amplified damage, I'm telling you. Especially with the linked laser pointer, it is game over. And not only that, but I'm going to show you guys a King Breaker PvP build here shortly, and it is dirty. It is dirty. I like it. I do love my Eagle Bearer, but the King Breaker is effing dirty. I'm telling you. All right. So we already know the results, but I want to snap and show you guys Insync versus Perfect Flatline, and then we will get out of here. So, yeah, let's cut to that. All right. I am sorry about doing all of the extra editing, but I wanted to save you guys a little bit of time. So here's the final test. It's going to be Insync versus Perfect Flatline. I'm sure we already know who the winner's going to be, but for testing purposes, we want to document this and see who's the winner. So here we go. So Insync versus Perfect Flatline. We're going to do 5 meters. TKB 408 versus the King Breaker. All right. And let's see. Let's do headshots. All right. Pulse out. 1.221 is going to be the number to beat. 1.221. Pulse out. Hold on. Maybe I'm not pulsing them correctly. Hold on. Put this sucker out there. This will pulse them. Yep, there we go. So 1.22, right? Well, this is hitting for 1.316. Yeah, 1.316. So King Breaker is still the better option. Let's go to chess piece. With the pulse, 994 is my highest crit. Yeah, 994. Okay. Switch over to Insync. Pulse out. chess piece. 992 or 922, my bad. 922. Yeah, so the King Breaker is your obvious winner. It is higher on both body shots and headshots against the normal variant. But remember that the King Breaker has a 0.5 health damage outlier here. So maybe that 0.5 is helping it. However, 70,000 to the chest more and nearly 100,000 more to the head. Would that equate to 0.5%? I don't know. That's a big damage outlier there. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But this is Insync versus the Perfect Flatline. Obviously, throughout all the testing, Perfect Flatline is going to be the way to go. And situations will dictate whether you want to use Insync or normal Flatline. Because if you can use that linked laser pointer, using normal Flatline is the way to go. That's automatic amplified damage immediately. All you have to do is aim. Boom, you got it. Now, the Insync, you can do that with a skill, but if you can use the linked laser pointer, there's no need to use a skill. So that just makes it more convenient and more damage just using a linked laser pointer. Now, if they were to take out the linked laser pointer when they do this specialization revamp, Insync would automatically be tier 1 again. But I think the number one talent to go for right now would be Flatline, and then even more so for Perfect Flatline with the King Breaker, because as long as you can use that linked laser pointer, it's game over, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been a three-way test between Insync, Flatline, and Perfect Flatline. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. And while you're at it, hit that like. If you felt this was informative and helpful and you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell because I am posting Division content every single day. But all right, everybody, Kamikazevondoom here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.